Welcome to the Gals Guide to the Galaxy podcast, where a group of gals gather for you one cool thing around our topic of the month. Is it ancient history? Is it breaking news? Is it safe for work? Well, that's up to each gal. All we know is that...
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Welcome back. I'm Claire, and I'm joined by Bonnie, Leah, and Katie talking about our one cool activist gal. Leah just talked about the amazing Wilma Mankiller, and Bonnie shared about the driving force behind Saudi Arabian women activists.
You're so good, Claire.
Love
You're
it.
so good.
This is why you keep inviting me back.
Anytime. Anytime.
But before we dive back in, let's get to know something random about our gal pals. And my question for you is, have you gone to a protest before? And if not, what do you think your protest sign would look like?
I love this question. And then there was a thought of putting, I have spelled everything wrong, but I have made a sign. Oh, no, stick. Okay, wait, this way. Hold on, I got this. Here's my protest sign. Okay, all right. So I have not been to a protest, but this is my favorite protest sign. What do we want? Time travel. When do we want it? It's irrelevant.
Oh my gosh. That reminds me of that episode of Futurama when they're, what do we want? Fry's dog. When do we want it? Fry's dog.
Exactly. Right.
Also, there was a
very
puppy reference for you, Bonnie.
Puppies. Puppy references.
Puppies and sci-fi. I mean, come on.
I know. Yeah, I am terrified of a whole bunch of people. I tend to not even go to like music concerts. So it's not a positivity or negative thing. It's people. People are weird. So I like to protest from home. I like to tune in the things that matter. And I have been known for our local Black Lives Matter. It wasn't so much a protest as it was a gathering of support. I dropped off 5 cases of water.
That's amazing.
So that was my way of saying, please do this. You know, I support you, but I'm going to go home. And I'm going to watch this on somebody's live feed FaceTime and be like, you tell it, sister. So, yes, but time travel would be great. Did you ladies make a post-it?
I didn't make a post-it, but I'm kind of in the same boat with you, Leah. I haven't been to a protest. I definitely like follow, watch, get excited by, but I've never like, it's kind of like stepping on the high dive for me. I've never taken that jump into it. Like a rebel on the inside, I keep all like the anger and the like.
Your angst, gotta keep it inside where you preserve it. Inside. Keeps you on the edge where you gotta be.
I know not all protests are like that, but I definitely would hope. I don't even have an idea right now that's clever, but if I made a protest sign, I really hope it ended up on Reddit.
Ooh.
That's
Use
the
some
goal,
glitter
right?
or something, right?
Yeah.
No, that's really great to hear that, even though, because I know a lot of people live in very rural areas and being able to be outside and publicly active isn't a possibility, or even just many other logistics. But knowing that there are people that are watching the live stream and supporting from home, that really does make a big difference. And that's very nice to hear.
I was so proud of myself that I watched whatever it was every 5 hours, all 5 hours of the women's history. I was like writing notes. I was journaling. I'm like feeling it.
That's amazing to have that
there.
greater connection, though, when you can't physically be there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
What
How
about
about you, Bonnie?
I've been to the Women's March, but not the big one in DC. One of the sister marches that was in Indianapolis.
Sweet.
Downtown, near the Capitol building.
Yeah, it was still a big crowd. Yeah, I watched that one too.
Big crowd. And I have still a really great speech from it that I've saved from Rabbi, now I'm blanking on her first name, but Sasso, and she's talking about like with spoon, and like a whole bunch of it was like, you know, we will not go back
Mhm.
You're talking about like not everyone can do a whole lot, but we all have like a spoon, we all have a teaspoon, we can all do a little bit together and make a big difference. And for Women's March stuff, I loved the freaking signs. All the signs were amazing.
Yes.
And I made a little art piece a few years ago.
Yes, you did. Yes.
And this is a little print of it.
I love it. Of the collections of the signs.
So I like went through and I picked like some of my favorite signs, and I made sure not to do any of that, like in particular gave a certain somebody any more attention. So none of them were those, even though I chuckled at those. But like one of my favorite ones was the I'm with her.
There you go. I love the women belong in the rebellion.
Yes, I have.
And then it has the
yes,
is the resistance. I'm like the Star Wars one. Yes, yes, yes.
Women's right and sci-fi. It's great.
Absolutely.
But like one of my other favorite ones was, and I'm not good with Spanish, but it's respect my existence or expect resistance, but it's in Spanish.
Oh, I love that. Nice.
Yes.
So in other words, Bonnie made a artwork about protest signs, sign of signs.
Bonnie, I would give you
Inception.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I'll give you all the extra credit. That's amazing.
Like anytime there's anything like, you know, there's ones that are like, I've been doing this since the 60s. Like there's so many good signs.
If you know grandma's here, if grandma's pissed, then it's really a big deal or something like that. I've seen that one.
One of even like a little girl, like they brought her to the protest and she just, you know, did a little kid's scribble drawing and they put it on a stick for like everything is so good.
It's like one of those basically. Oh
yeah, it was just like she just drew on the thing. So good.
Perfect.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I like hearing all these different perspectives. And I don't mean to brag, but one of my proudest moments was I once helped organize a counter protest against the Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah, you did. You're my hero.
They came to Sioux City. Oh, it was almost 10 years ago. And they were mad because I think they found out there was a gay person in Iowa. I don't know.
Oh, my.
Just one?
Just one. And
that
so
they know of.
For people who are listening that might not be familiar with this, you know, hate group, they love to discriminate against people and like terrorize people at funerals and aggravate grieving families. And so we wanted to make sure that anyone that was targeted by this group would see a public outpouring of support. And so we had hundreds of people, and the signs there were great because the Westboro Baptist Church signs are all very hateful and use a lot of vocabulary I will never use because it's so awful. And we had everyone was making funny references. There was like all glory to the Hypnotoad was one that stood out. People made giant banners on sheets. A motorcycle group rode back and forth with flags. It was amazing. And mine was, I was really into the flying spaghetti monster.
The flying spaghetti monster. Yes, yes,
Noodles be upon him. And
yes.
I dressed as a pirate because, you know, the reason global warming and global climate change is happening is because there's a decrease in the pirate population.
You know what? Now that you say it, of course.
And so I had a giant sign that said like the flying spaghetti monster loves all. And I was sharing my positive message.
I love that.
But I'm going to do a very smooth transition from protest signs into my one cool activist thing.
Who do you have for us?
We're going to talk about the Guerrilla Girls. Woo!
Love them.
Oh my gosh. Amazeballs. Yes, please.
Yes. So you said there are a few books of the Guerrilla Girls in the library. Which ones do you have?
Oh, I should look them up. I know we have Confessions of the Guerrilla Girls, which I believe is the yellow one. We also have the pink one, which we have the yellow one, we have the pink one, and then what is the other one? I should even remember my color.
The bedside.
Oh, the bedside stories of the Guerrilla Girls. Yes, absolutely. And these are also. Oh, it won't let me minimize my screen when I'm in a call, so I can't search it. So I'll put it in the show. Actually, wait, Bonnie, can you look up and see what our other one was?
I'm having difficulty spelling gorilla. 'Cause
Gorilla with a
I know
U.
it's the monkey for them.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll provide a good smoke screen. And I
Yes,
was going
please.
to say the two books that I've read are the Guerrilla Girls Bedside Companion to
Okay.
the history of Western art,
Yes.
and then also Bitches, Bimbos, and Ball Breakers.
That's the one. That's
Okay.
the one we have. Yes. Oh, perfect. Okay, good. So the books that you have, we have as well, and you recommend. Yes.
Yeah, these are some fun books, and so I highly recommend that if you're listening, go check those out. They are art history, but they also cover some very deep and serious topics. But one of the things I enjoy about the Guerrilla Girls is how they weave in a sense of humor to make these serious topics more digestible and approachable. And that's something that I'll do within my personal art practice. Is I'm very serious about what I do. And like the crux of my artist statement is, yes, I was assigned female at birth, but hey, I'm a human being. Isn't that a novel idea?
It's starting to be, isn't it?
and so I do live in an area where feminism is a F word, and I've had people, so it's
you're fighting the good fight.
Yeah, so if I put humor into it, it does make it more approachable. Bonnie, what were you going to say? What's your history with the Guerrilla Girls?
Oh, I love them. I heard about them in art history class, and if I can find it, I met them once, and I was so excited. They gave a talk at like Butler or something, and I was so excited. I was like felt like bouncing in my seat the whole time. And we got to afterwards. They stayed behind and talked to people, and I got my photo taken with them. And like when I got to them, I was like, I make paintings of women throughout history. And like I don't know what I was expecting them to. I don't know if they were gonna be like, that's fabulous, but they were just like, okay, great.
All right.
No, you should,
good for you.
You should fangirl out over the Guerrilla Girls.
Yes.
So excited.
I have a friend of mine was in a Guerrilla Girls exhibition a few years ago. They did a takeover of the Twin Cities.
Oh,
and
nice.
My friend, I'm going to give her a plug. Her name is Reina
please.
Hernandez, and she is an amazing artist. And she was one of the featured artists of this exhibition. So
nice.
Yeah. So and I have Bonnie and then Reina Hernandez. And it's like anyone who's part of this, it's very exciting to be part of this network.
Yeah. I know that the Guerrilla Girls are actually doing an appearance at the Glasgow Women's Library in Scotland. They've been promoting them as coming to see the library, and that the Glasgow Women's Libraries are role model. It's who we want to be when we grow up as libraries.
That's awesome.
Yes. Oh, there's her. Oh my gosh.
Oh, Bonnie, I'm so jealous.
That is amazing. I love that. You should have that like framed.
Oh my goodness. I want to be you when I grow up, but I think I'm older than you.
Age ain't nothing but a number.
Give me that time travel now.
Yes. When do we need it? It's irrelevant.
Yes. So
I mean, when you get the Gorilla Girl like mask on, like no one's gonna know.
Yeah.
Well,
I like it.
Let's time travel back.
Yes, please.
To the origins of the Guerrilla Girls.
Love it.
So they are an anonymous organization of women, and it started in 1985 in New York. And the reason they had to be anonymous is the art world's a little bit sexist. And no, not from thousands of years of patriarchy and hundreds of years of not letting women in any formal art education system. And so even in 1985, of the Common Era, not BCE.
Right. Fair.
So the sexism was so decadent, ripe, abundant. I don't know. Pick an artsy word for it. And if these women who were working artists critiqued the art world in which they worked in, they could get blacklisted as being difficult or hysterical, or
Mhm.
what are some other words that have been used to describe you?
On
when
the
you-
rag.
Mhm.
Opinionated.
Ooh, bossy.
Oh, yes, that's right. Leadership skills.
Ooh. And so they had to remain anonymous if they wanted to continue to have opportunities despite how few and infrequent they were.
So they could have those 3 opportunities that were
Yeah.
available to them.
Mhm.
And so they
Cool.
joined forces and started the Guerrilla Girls, and that's spelled like guerrilla, like the fighters. But one of the women was taking notes and spelled the wrong type of gorilla, and they won with it. So that's their icon and why they're using the masks. And so when they appear in public, even to this day, they're wearing gorilla masks, which is funny on multiple levels.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I guess I just want to put a call out there. If anyone has like an old gorilla suit laying around that you don't need anymore, send it my way. I want
Claire.
one.
Yes. Get
And
it
every
to Claire.
year
Yeah.
after Halloween, when everything's 50% off, I try to get one because I'm an artist. I can't afford a full price gorilla suit.
Fair.
But
So yes, please, listenership in listener land. Send Claire
hashtag
a
send
gorilla suit.
Claire. Yeah, hashtag send Claire a gorilla suit.
Hey, you know what? As your hashtags go, that one's shorter.
Yes, I do like very long and specific.
I like them too,
hashtags.
though.
I'm just learning how to internet. I'm an elder millennial. It's fine.
It's hard.
But-
Kudos.
Yes. But the Guerrilla Girls, there are actually 3 groups of them now. There's been a
Oh.
schism or a split or just a divergence of interest.
Okay.
So you have Guerrilla Girls Incorporated, which produces the books, which is what I think we're more familiar with.
Okay.
There's also Guerrilla Girls Broadband that does more online
Ah.
activities and activism. And then there's the Guerrilla Girls on Tour, which is more of a performance aspect.
Mm.
So I just wanted to quick mention all of those, but my
Yeah, yeah.
focus will just be on like the early stages of Guerrilla Girls and then the Guerrilla Girls Inc., which produces the book.
Yes. Fabs.
And I wanted to start off by sharing one of the most pivotal, important works of art they created. And so this is in the era of postmodernism. So just because I'm very pedantic about art history now that I teach it.
You teach it and you did a podcast on it. It's all good. Yes,
Yeah,
please.
So
preach.
we have modern art, and this will come up in a second too, where modern art is art from the Western world that was made around the 1870s through the 1970s.
Got it.
And then 1980s, you have postmodernism. And technically that ended about 20 years ago. And so some people are like, we're in postmodern. I say
Yes.
contemporary with a lowercase c to try and be less confusing.
Fair.
But anyway, in the era of postmodernism, where you're critiquing the artists that came before you, the Guerrilla Girls created a poster, and it's a screen print. So they silk screened tons of these and wheat pasted them all over New York. And this poster is called, "Do Women Have to Be Naked to Get into the Met Museum?"
I love that one.
And when was the first time you saw that one, Leah?
When Bonnie showed it to me, actually. So I learned about, yes, exactly that one. Because Bonnie did at a Gals Guide meeting, we talked about artists, and Bonnie presented, and she talked a lot about naked women in the Met.
Yes. And to describe it for people who haven't logged into YouTube yet to watch this awesome video, it's a horizontal poster and it's on yellow paper. Along the top edge in a bold black big sans serif font, it literally says, "Do women have to be naked to get into the Met Museum?" And in the lower left-hand corner, there's a depiction of Eng's Grande Odalisque. And that is a very nude woman who I believe set the precedent for comic book covers, because you could see her entire butt.
Oh, I don't. Yeah.
And she's turned around so you can still see one of her
Right.
breasts.
Right.
And the Met doesn't own this museum. It's actually in the Louvre, but the Met has a grayscale painting of it
Okay.
that was used to create prints. So that way that painting could be in everyone's home and it's ubiquitous. Nude women. Yay!
Yeah.
With extra vertebrae too.
Yeah. So that way you can see both her chest and her butt at the
Of
same time.
course. You know, Marvel rules. I totally know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
The Hawkeye initiative is one of my favorite things.
Mhm. And they have replaced the odalisque's face with a gorilla mask.
Yes.
Now, the rest of the poster includes the text that less than 5% of the artists in the modern art sections are women, but 85% of the nudes are female. So they did what they call a weenie count. And they really went around and they're just counting weenies. And they're like, male, 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 female. And this isn't the Renaissance section. It's not the Greco-Roman section. It's the modern art section, when technically women could be in public.
Right.
But only 5% of the art was made by women artists. And they did the weenie count again later. And in 2012 was the most recent update I could find.
Mhm.
But less than 4% of the artists in the modern art section were women.
Really?
Yay!
It went down?
It went down.
That's sad.
I see everyone's pouty faces. Like, how?
Boo. 4%.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And
but did the breast assist go up though? More naked
Well,
women?
actually, they were very progressive. Now there were only 76% of the nudes were women's bodies.
Oh, cool. Weenies? Did the weenies go up? Sorry, I just really needed to say that. I mean, percentage wise.
So there was an increase in the amount of male nudes.
Interesting. Kudos.
And I guess if we want to feel like, why is this still relevant? I mean, I gave you an update from 2012. The first poster was made in 1989, that original weenie count. And I found a study. It was called Diversity of Artists in Major U.S. Museums. It was led by Chad Topaz of Williams College. And his team discovered that in 2019, and also things have not changed a lot because things have been closed down the last year and a half because
Totally fair. Yeah.
pandemic. But in 2019, only 12.6% of artists in major American museums and institutions were women.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
the argument that, well, maybe there aren't very many women artists. Well, according to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences in 2019, 70% of people who graduated with a BFA, so a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, were women.
Mhm.
There they are.
Well, we graduate and then we start popping out babies. We don't have time
Right.
to pay. 'cause
No-
we're
no
just
time to
not
pay.
wearing diapers.
My goodnesses.
And I will share you some really fun statistics on the amount of money you make in just a little bit.
Please.
Because I want
Yes.
to share another important screen print that the Guerrilla Girls created in 1989. And it's called When Racism and Sexism Are No Longer Fashionable, How Much Will Your Art Collection Be Worth? So
Yes.
have you seen this
I
one before?
haven't seen this one before. I love it already.
So the Guerrilla Girls are founded on promoting people who have been traditionally excluded from the art world.
Mhm.
And that obviously means women, but they also advocate for people of color too, which is important.
Nice.
This screen print is it's like 17 inches by 22. So they're small, and they could wheat paste them and pop them up really quick and have them out in the public. And on this poster, it's black text on a whitish paper again. And the heading question is, when racism and sexism are no longer fashionable, how much will your art collection be worth? And underneath it, they included the text that reads, the art market won't bestow mega buck prices on the work of a few white males forever. For the 17.7 million you just spent on a single Jasper Johns painting, you could have bought at least one work by all these women and artists of color. And they list 67 artists.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I was slight sidebar. I was on a filmmakers panel. It was filmmakers versus film critics. It was a horrible idea. But they would ask us the same question, and they wanted to see if filmmakers and film critics would agree on anything. And the question at the time was about Avatar. Sorry, it's about Avatar. I can't pronounce it correctly. And it was, what was our thoughts on James Cameron's epic masterpiece, Avatar? My disagreement was, that was at the time $60 million. That could have been 60 independent films funded for $1 million a piece that would have had more cultural significance and importance than Avatar did. So I totally agree with that list. Support more people.
And you can fill a whole museum for the price of one painting.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so this one was made in 1989, and I have some fun numbers because the Guerrilla Girls do statistics to back up their anger, because it was founded on knowing, like, yeah, I'm being discriminated against, but all these anecdotes won't mean anything. So having these statistics, having numbers, having math. And so when artists are like, I don't like math. No, use math for for good.
For good.
I mean, if you consider evil, you know
what, good and
machine,
evil, just use it. Yes.
Use the tools available and rage against the machine. Start a riot. I mean,
100%.
We need it. Because one of the quick tangent is, with art, it's supposed to be weird and creative and avant-garde and new and thoughtful. But if all the artwork is made by cis-het, white, European, Judeo-Christian, rich men who lived in Paris or New York, it's a very, very narrow worldview.
Yeah.
And
it gets boring.
Yes. And that's all pretty much what the history of modern art is up until the 70s. And even postmodernism said they were different, but all the top selling artists still fit within that very narrow mold of
same but different.
And I just don't know how we can say it's so creative and edgy when it's only one narrow viewpoint.
Right.
So to update our angst and anger about money is the most expensive Jasper Johns painting as of now sold in 2010 for $110 million, which adjusted for inflation is about $130 million today. And I mean, big surprise, it was a flag. He painted it in the 1950s.
Man, I hope it's fake. I hope they bought a fake. But anyway, yes.
But by comparison, the most expensive painting by an artist on the list the Guerrilla Girls provided was a painting by excuse me, I'm trying to say the name of the artist and the painting at the same time. But the artist is Georgia O'Keeffe, and she painted Jimson Weed White Flower No. 1 in 1936. And this is the most expensive painting on the list. It was sold in 2014 for $44.4 million.
Wow.
That's actually the most.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good chunk of change, but I mean, we're comparing to 130, right?
130, yeah. And that's actually the most expensive painting by a woman ever.
Really?
And Jasper Johns, I mean, a lot of people listening to this may not even know who he is or think he is that famous. So here's some more math for us. The most expensive painting in the world is Salvator Mundi by Leonardo da Vinci.
Okay.
That's sold in 2017 for $450 million, which adjusted for 2021 is over $500 million.
My God.
And the most expensive painting by a woman in the history of the world is $44.4 million, which adjusted is about 49, but still.
That's a huge gap. I mean, yay, Georgia O'Keeffe.
Right. So when we were talking...
I don't think she got that money.
No, she did not.
Oh, was she already passed at that point?
Oh, yes. And so when we were talking about the pay gap earlier, it'd be nice if women artists got 76% of what male artists did, because 49 divided by 450 or adjusted the 500 it's not that
it
much.
Makes my soul hurt.
Yeah. And in the the art market of today. So there was a study that was published on ArtNet News, and between 2008 and 2019, the world spent $196.6 billion on art.
Wow. I mean, yay.
Well, and I guess which percentage was spent on women artists?
No.
Tell me a number.
18%.
18? Okay.
It's gonna be like 1 or 2.
Oh, Katie, what's your bet?
Oh, wait, you're still on mute, babe.
Oh. It was so low, she didn't even want to say
know, right?
it.
Exactly.
I was being optimistic again. I said 23%.
Okay. Bonnie, I was going to say you win with 2%.
What?
Gosh.
2%.
That is horrible.
Yeah.
Oh my
so
gosh.
if anyone is listening this right now and they look around their house and they're like, oh no, I hardly have any art by women, go out now and go order some art by women. I mean,
yeah,
I have lots of art on my website. Go to ClaireLockheart.com. Bonnie has amazing artwork. She does
BonnieFillandWork.com.
And Bonnie's artwork is about uplifting and getting artwork about women from history. And then Leah, you've been making.
I've just started. Don't buy my stuff yet.
No.
Oh, you know what? Just help the percentage. There you go.
I'm promoting you
LeahLeach.com.
now. I'm promoting you now.
All right. Okay. All right.
Because emerging artists.
Yeah.
No, you go and you buy art from emerging artists and you hold on to it because
then they'll make more.
Buy my painting today and go sell it for $47 million and break the record. Come on, people.
Exactly. Yes. Buy more women art. Holy crap.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to definitely use this as, Gals Guide is located in an art gallery where they sell art. So I will highly be a cheerleader for this. Holy
and that's actually going to transition very nicely and smoothly into a current project the Guerrilla Girls are working on.
Yes.
And it's called the Male Grays.
Grays instead of gays. I see what they're doing here. Okay. Yes.
So,
are cows involved?
Well, first, let me take it back to the concept of the male gaze.
Yes.
And how would you describe that definition? Or how have you seen it used in different contexts in
Every
media?
single movie I have ever seen is represented by the male gaze. Even sometimes if it was directed by a woman, there is some producer, some executive who put some kind of stank on it and said it needs to be through the male gaze. Can't stand it. Dun, 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 dun.
Bonnie, it looks like you're about to have an aneurysm.
Before Bonnie's head pops.
In
Yes.
art school and art history and like everything is made for men's pleasure. And it's, we want the woman to be, looking nice and pretty and presentable for the men. But then when you get to stuff where you've got like the Venus depicted as looking at herself in a mirror, then oh, she's just stuck up.
Did someone read Ways of Seeing? There's this.
I read. Where is it?
When you're grabbing it, there's a quote from Berger, and one of his most famous quotes is, "You painted a naked woman because you enjoyed looking at her. You put a mirror in her hand, and you called the painting vanity, thus morally condemning the woman whose nakedness you had depicted for your own pleasure."
I believe that.
This is like a freaking book quote off. I love this. Keep going, artists.
But I have Women in Art, Contested Territory by Judy Chicago.
Love Judy.
Edward Louis Smith. But that quote is in here, and there's a whole chapter on the male gaze. And this book is amazing, and I highly recommend that.
Yes.
And I guess I want to specify for people who are not watching the video when we're saying gaze, it's Gaze, because that's a very different conversation from men who are gay. And
right. Oh, that's fair. Yes.
Yes. Because sometimes people mishear that and get very confused. But the male gaze, and that was a term coined in the 70s. So I would say like a more, because the understanding in gender dynamics wasn't quite as nuanced and complex as it is today. So the male gaze is essentially making things to appeal to the heteronormative, cisgender, typically white, Judeo-Christian man. And even if I fit in that very narrow audience, I would be insulted by that, because why is all this artwork? Why are all these movies? Why are all these comic books targeting my business?
Right.
Like,
right?
if I was a man, I would be insulted by that. And so,
aren't you more than that?
right. And so all this art with all these nude women, that's why the Guerrilla Girls are doing the weenie count. And it's like impossible for me to go into a museum and not notice that I've walked through 3 galleries in this museum and I haven't seen a single work of art by a woman.
Right.
And it's hard not to be cognizant of that at this point. Like, I went to the Uffizi in Florence several years ago because I was very, very fortunate and got a scholarship.
Nice.
There was one painting by Artemisia Gentileschi, and it was Judith Sling's
field painter. Sorry, Bonnie and I love her. Yes.
Oh
yes.
yeah, she is amazing, and it's worth the whole trip. But she's the only woman in the whole museum. It was Judith Slang, Holofernes.
Ooh, the good one.
Oh
Which dress do you remember? Was it the blue dress or the yellow dress? Because I feel like she made it a couple of times and only changed the dress.
She did, and I can't remember because I was just
totally
weeping from joy.
I'm sure it was gorgeous as well.
Transfixed because she was friends with Galileo and knew how like arcs of liquid, which was very helpful for painting all the blood.
Ooh, nice.
But there are even like going to local museums.
There she is.
Yay.
Yes, exactly. That's the red dress. Or no, that's the yellow dress.
Caravaggio, who's all like, she's all like, man, I don't want to get money.
Oh, and then when you're looking at paintings and they're trying to figure out if they were by Artemisia, but a lot of them were ascribed to her father, Orazio. And they've been correcting a lot of that because they figured out Artemisia paints women with hands that actually hold stuff. Whereas Orazio,
the distinction?
Orazio paints pretty little fingers with like the sword would be balanced on top of it. But Artemisia is like, no, I'm a woman. I have hands. They do stuff.
Oh my God. I love that. That's how they're figuring it out. That's amazing.
To get back to like museums. So if you go to a museum and you see that there's a group that is vastly underrepresented. It could be women, it could be LGBTQ plus, it could be indigenous artists, like whoever you are advocating for. Do a count and write the curator an email.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I have encouraged people to do this and they get messages back and it's very exciting. But I just learned that with the Guerrilla Girls on their Male Grays website, they have a spot where you can actually report your numbers. So they're doing collections outside of New York.
Oh, cool.
And I wish I would have known about this sooner, but they just added this website. And so the Male Grays is a more forceful term of the male gaze because the male gaze just kind of seems like, oh, it's a passive thing. It happens. The male graze, these artists are consuming their models.
Oh.
And they are pointing out like these artists that we're supposed to put on pedestals because they're geniuses, but they're listing out their transgressions and how horrible they treated women.
Yeah.
And I don't know about all of you, but I'm exhausted of trying to pretend that artwork made by people who abuse their models, who are
Jackson Pollock
molesting children, who are beating people. It is like, I don't want to see their work in a museum anymore. I don't care. Don't care.
Exactly. Totally fair.
You beat your model. It's not cool. And I'm tired of it. And I'm tired because for the millions of dollars they pay for someone who was an abuser or a rapist.
Right.
You could fill that whole museum with artwork with people who, you know,
who tried to be a good person.
Yeah. Who aren't violent and horrible and evil.
Right.
And so
they might be clinically depressed, but that might be the last or the worst thing on the list.
Right. And so sometimes I do get pushback for, like, I'm a big advocate for representation within the art world. And people will push back and be like, well, why does that matter when domestic abuse happens and stuff? But the thing is, art teaches empathy.
Yes.
And if women are represented in the media and, hey, we're actually people, we're not going to be fridged in a movie and we're not
Yeah.
objectified or prizes, and we're actually presented as people. It teaches, men that, hey, women are people.
Right.
And then it can lead to this improvement overall in society that we're striving for. And so like, I can't pass legislation. I don't have that power. I'm not rich. I'm not in politics, but I can make artwork that empowers women and challenges the status quo.
Yes.
And hopefully that'll open up the conversation and make people realize that, hey, Klaire's kind of clever and she's a person.
Yes. 100%.
Maybe I can treat her like a human being.
And by her art.
Yeah, by my art, by Bonnie's art. Yeah, seriously, go look at your collection, see what you've got hanging on the walls, and do your own, weaning count. Is the majority of your artwork made by men? Well, not saying you shouldn't collect artwork by men.
Right.
But go out and buy artwork by women, buy art from trans artists, buy it from Two-Spirit and gender fluid and any marginalized gender, because
have a diversity of voices. And I always think of art as mirrors, they're mirror reflections to a culture, to an interest, to a passion, to an observation. I mean, it takes a long time to make one of these pieces of art. It's not just like, I'm kind of into this. No, this is something somebody's really interested in. And so listen to them. Yeah. Support them. Well, put your money where your mouth is.
Right. And I know it can be very intimidating, especially if you aren't an artist or a curator or working for Christie's or whatever, and you're contacting your local art gallery or director at a museum. But if enough of us actually send that email and say, hey, I noticed you don't have any women, or out of the 7 shows you hosted, 6 of them were by men, and you contact them enough, they're going to realize it's a problem. And then, I have on hand a very nice supply of very high quality oil paintings. And so if they were like, oh no, I just realized half the population of the earth is made of women. Maybe we should have some women in our collection.
Such an amazing idea.
Radical, I know.
But I love it.
Oh, have I riled you up enough?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna go buy some art because Friday there's a new exhibit happening, and I took a sneak peek of it last night, and holy crap, I need to probably buy some stuff this weekend. So
there's a problem I have when I sell artwork. I figure out, well, how much did I actually make? How many new works of art can I buy?
Oh, I see. It's almost like a trade. Like, okay, so it's a George Clooney. George Clooney does one for them, one for him. What that means is he does one movie for the movie studio that make them happy, that shows George Clooney and all of his George Clooney-ness and makes them lots of money. And then he does one that he wants to do where he doesn't care if it makes a freaking dime. It's a movie that matters to him. So it's kind of like you make a piece of art and then you buy other pieces of art from other people to support. One for you, one for them.
And I also just don't understand capitalism. So I definitely do just a lot of trades as well.
Bartering. We need to bring back bartering. I love
bartering. It's like, hey, I made this painting and sometimes I will get a different painting out of it. And I'm just thinking that person will be more famous than I will be. I mean, that's why I always plug Reina Hernandez, because I own a lot of her work and I'm going to bank that she's going to be more famous. You need that value to go up. Oh my gosh, my collection is going to be worth so much money.
My Bonnie Fillenworth stalker wall is going to be worth a lot one day. But right now, it's priceless.
Oh.
Buy from living artists too, because the dead ones don't need the money.
Oh, that's a great idea to point out too. Okay, buy from me, not from my skeleton.
Yes. Okay. All right. But I like your skeleton.
Well,
for those just spent the whole time too.
Well,
she's very excited.
It's a silver skeleton for people who can't see, and I named him Freddie Mercury.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Amazing.
I see what you did there.
But I am totally going off the rails now. So does this feel like an appropriate time to conclude?
I think so. Go ahead and wrap us up, darling. That is fascinating. You have activated us in a positive way.
All right, my friends. Well, that wraps it up for us this week. Join us next week as our next gal pal shares her one cool activist gal as the Gal's Guide podcast continues. Thanks for listening.
For show notes, links, and images from this week's show, visit galsguide.org. Want exclusive stuff like deleted bits and major bloopers? Become a Gal's Guide patron today. Thanks for listening.